Story time about how my mother-in-law accused me of cheating on her son. Disclaimer, it's not my story time, it's not on my Instagram. My evil mother-in-law is the worst of the worst. The moment I started dating her perfect little son, she would make judgmental comments on my body, and if I was ever in the kitchen cooking, she would be there to try to criticize everything that I would do. When my husband and I finally got pregnant, she pretended to be happy. I could see deep down inside she was hating the fact that I was pregnant. I think she always had the hope that he would leave me. But let me give you some background info on my husband. This man is lucky to be with me. Not only am I a 12, I am so kind and caring to him, and I have way too much patience for him. Whereas my mother-in-law thinks that he's the one lucky to be with me. First off, I make way more money than my husband, so I'm the one paying for most of the bills. But guess what? My husband asked me not to tell his mom about that because he'd be embarrassed. He also doesn't know how to cook or clean. And guess why? Because his mother did everything for him growing up. So I'm the one that has to cook, clean, and pay for the bills. A few months ago, I asked my husband for a divorce. He ran over to his mom's house and tried to get her to convince me not to. But guess what? His mom called me and told me that she'd convince him to give me a divorce. Part 2 is up. Story time about how my mother-in-law accused me of cheating on her son. Disclaimer, it's not my story time, it's sent me on Instagram. So instead of her trying to convince me not to leave him, she told me that she would convince my husband to break up with me. This was all for my benefit because I was the one that wanted a divorce. But 2 weeks later, I find out I'm pregnant. At the time, we were still living in the same house, but we weren't really talking. So I finally went up to him and told him that I was pregnant. He was so happy. You think he even gave me a hug or a kiss? No, he picked up the phone and called his mother right away. He called her on speaker and I could hear what she was saying. And as soon as he told her, she said, "It's probably not your kid." How could I have not seen this coming? At this point, she thought we were gonna get a divorce. So me having a kid was the worst case scenario for her. Right away, she told him to kick me out of the house that I pay for. That's when I grabbed the phone from him and I started telling her everything. First off, I told her that I paid for all the bills and that her son made only $200 a week from a stupid gaming thing and that he wasn't even bothering to look for another job. And then on top of paying for the bills, I still had to cook and clean. And I asked her, "Do you really think this is the kind of man I want to have a kid with?" She had no response. That's when she hung up the phone and told my husband to go over to her house. Part 3 is up. Story time about how my mother-in-law accused me of cheating on her son. Disclaimer, is not my story time, it's not on Instagram. When I broke the news to her that he didn't pay for any of the bills and that I was paying for the house, she literally lost her shit. My husband hung up the phone and told me that he would never speak to me again. God, if only that were true. Then he goes over to his mom's house and guess what? An hour later, he demands I go over to her house to apologize to his mother. I said that I would, but instead, I went over there and told her some more truths. I ended up telling her that her son told me not to tell her that he didn't make any money, and that the whole time he and I were together, she thought that he was paying for all the bills. Then I said, "Aren't you embarrassed that your son is like that?" That's when she told me the only way she would accept my child was with a paternity test. Am I supposed to do that with the baby in my belly? Finally, the baby was born and I was able to prove that it was his son. My husband wants us to stay together, but his mom keeps criticizing me. Every time she sees the kid, she says it doesn't look like my husband, even though I already proved that it was his. I think that I should get a divorce. I'm afraid my mother-in-law might do something to the baby. My husband thinks I'm just overreacting. What should I do?
Y'all, Christmas is my absolute favorite time of the year, but this year is just a little bit extra special. I'm actually going to be going to Switzerland to be visiting my mom. And you might be asking yourself, why am I going to Switzerland to visit my mom? Well, she is actually opening up her own inn out there. It's kind of sad because I haven't really been able to see my family the past few Christmases because I travel so much. I'm a full-time architect, the job is very demanding, I live in an apartment in Chicago, but I'm literally never even there. But I recently learned that my ex-best friend is coming to Christmas. And the reason that she's my ex-best friend is because I found out she was dating my ex. And even though we were really good friends as kids, this whole thing just feels so backstabbing that I don't know how I'm going to be able to forgive her, even though my mom really thinks that I should. But on the bright side, there is this cute new single father who is helping manage my mom's inn. And he wants to take me all around Switzerland and show me their Christmas traditions and their culture. So if you guys want to find out what happens next, watch Merry Swissmas on Lifetime at 8/7 Central this Saturday. And there will be new movies all season long on Lifetime.
I keep seeing all these videos of people talking about you can't ask for the date and time within a dream. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. For those of y'all that are new, I'm Jasmine. I'm a celebrity spiritual consultant. I'm also a channeler and a dream psychic. I get dates and time all the time, but what y'all need to understand is that lucid dreaming is a form of meditation, and just like when you're meditating, you have to have an intention. Our measurements of time are only applicable where properties are consistent. The properties of our dream world are not consistent to the properties of our physical world. Therefore, it's not going to have a date and time, but you can ask about past dates. You can get future dates. You can read within your dreams. You can even read that scribble scrabble shit within your dreams. Also, your dream world people are not out to get you. It is metaphorical to your waking life. When I first started my spiritual journey and I was trying to figure out how to get my third eye open, I had this dream. And there were all these people passing back and forth between this foggy ass border. And I went from being in like first person perspective to like watching them and observing them to like being in the distance, seeing myself observing them. And that's when I noticed where my third eye chakra was, that my eye was open and it was like black and it was leaking sparkly tears. That's my trigger trip, because before I went to sleep, I was looking at a picture just like that on Pinterest. So I was like, oh, I'm dreaming, or I'm awake at that point. So I'm like, okay. And so I started paying attention. That's when I shot back into first person perspective. And I was like, do y'all know that y'all are dead? And I was looking at them. Everybody was gray. They just looked like zombies. I was like, do y'all know that y'all are dead? I can see that y'all are dead. Do y'all know that y'all are dead? Well, everybody started looking at me and they were just looking at me crazy. And when I woke up, I was like, what the fuck was that about? It took me 8 months to decipher and decode that dream because I didn't know no better, just to find out it was a representation of the people that I was actually experiencing every single day. People passing back and forth between that foggy border was a representation of people missing the smoke signals, of people not watching the shit happening right within their midst and missing signals from their ancestors, their higher self, their guides, and things of that nature. Me being able to see my third eye and also saying in the dream that I can see that y'all are dead 8 months later was a representation that way back then when I was trying to figure out how to get my third eye open, it was already fucking open. I just didn't know any better. It was all metaphorical, and learning how to interpret your dreams is really important. If you're interested in learning more, I'm going to do a series each Sunday where I talk about different things within the spiritual community that I think people need to know, but there may be a lot of fear mongering around. And if you are interested in taking my dream work class, it's November 19th at 1:11 p.m. and I'm talking about dream recall. I'm teaching dream sharing. I'm teaching astral projection, so y'all know how to do it safely. And I'm teaching how to gain and maintain lucidity and popular misconceptions and meanings of different dreams, and giving out different books that have helped